Well, it's Saturday morning, and it's about going to 8:45. We actually started about 8:30, and Kevin is having one of those. Oh my gosh, 5-minute job just to get these rubbers off the head. First of all, this one's already broken. Okay, he's going to rip the.
I did rip the rubber off.
You
this
ripped it
one.
off? Okay, you got the water? Okay, there might be a bolt head inside underneath of this rubber.
Okay.
Let's double check that because these things are in here so tight.
Oh, yeah.
This is something where you simply unscrew and remove. And here we are carving away rubber to try to get to the metal because I have in the past, while trying to unscrew these, broken one off and then had to drill out the threaded part. And it's a pain. It's a total pain. So anyway, this is the fun part of this job. Taking apart 50 some odd year old parts that basically don't want to come apart. Now, it's interesting. One of the questions I got last night was how often, or what's the interim when you should change the Isolastics? And I don't know. Basically, all these bikes come in here same age, and they're almost all running the original ISOs, and it's really expensive to change them, so we very seldom do. I've probably only done 4 or 5 in the last 20 years because they're so doggone expensive. But it's not a deficiency in the design. These bikes were never intended to last 50 years. They were made to be made, sold, original rider owned them maybe 4 or 5 years, trade in for an upgraded model. And after that, there was no real expectation that they would go through 4, 5, 6 owners and end up in the 2000s, 2024. Still on the road and still being maintained. So they didn't design them and build them cheaply. They just designed them for basically 5 years, a 5-year life. And the ISOs were a requirement of the Commando because the old frame on the Atlas was really, really heavy, and they wanted a new lightweight frame, and they came up with the lightweight Commando frame, which is a really nice frame. It's thin wall tubing, and it couldn't take the vibrations of the Atlas engine, so they came up with the isolastic rubber mount, which was basically genius because let them use the new frame and gave the rider a whole lot more comfort. So it was a good design. I don't know if you know, but the guy who designed the ISOs for the Norton went on to design the rubber mounts for Harley Davidson. He came over here and joined us at one of our international rallies. A really nice guy. So he designed this ISO system. He also designed the 1975 mufflers, which everybody agrees are probably the ugliest mufflers ever created. And he's very sad that the first thing most of us did was take off those big ugly mufflers and put the pea shooters back on. They were a requirement of U.S. federal government noise standards. And he said they were probably the most efficient muffler ever designed because they worked really, really well. They cut down on the noise and they breathed beautifully. And it just saddened him to see them being taken off and pea shooters put back on. But we all did on our 75s. Very few 75s running around with stock mufflers. Second thing he was upset about is all the 850 owners, such as me, who took off our 850 pipes with the crossover and put on 750 pipes with no crossover. He said, but they run better with a crossover. And we said, we know it, but they're so ugly. And the poor guy, he did all that design work, and we thwart him in the afterlife. So anyway, that's where we are this morning. Kevin's over there desperately trying to get that top rubber mount off. I just cleaned up a whole bunch of parts. We're getting ready to take this apart, and I think I misspoke yesterday when I said the primary has to come off. It doesn't have to come off, I don't think. We should be able to do this without taking the primary apart. So this is the start of the day, and we are ready to go. All right, we cut away the rubber. We were hoping there was a hex head under here. There's not. let me show you what we are reduced to doing in order to break this thing free. And if anybody has suggestions, we are open to suggestions. By the way, yes, we did heat it. In case you're wondering. Let's see if I can turn it now.
Jeez.
And this is what we refer to as a 5-minute job.
Just unscrew it, no problem.
Yeah, just, you know, unscrew and remove top rubber mounts. Okay, so at least we didn't break it and we don't have to drill out the stud. On the other hand, we have another one on the other side, which is going to give us that same opportunity. Whew. All right. All right, well, that was fun, and now I'm going to let Kevin do the other side. Go for it.
Lucky me.
Yeah. All right, just for the heck of it, we're going to video this showing that you can get in there with the rubber still on to do that removal. Okay, so we're going to take that one off now. All right, interestingly, I just pulled the front bolt out of the center of the front ISO, and it came out this way, head first, this side. Normally, it's this way. The head's on the right side, and the nut's on this side. But it was in facing this way, which actually works just fine, thank you. But it is surprising, so it made us take a look at this front unit, and it is very nicely painted. The rubbers are really good condition, and I have the funniest feeling that this ISO has been taken out at some time recently, maybe, and we're going to find out if it's an adjustable or if it's the old-fashioned shimmed one as soon as we take this unit off. Right now we are suspended on the sky hook, which is really helpful. By the way, that's an iron bar that goes up into the attic and is hooked up to a 4x4 that's like 10 feet long, resting across the rafters, so it's pretty substantial. And the hoist was a $15 purchase at a swap meet, the best $15 I ever spent in my life. So anyway, the hoist is holding the engine up. We just pulled this out very easily, just pulled it out. Now we're going to pull this one out and see how that goes. Interesting, eh?
Mm.
And the fun just never stops. Oh, look, there's a great big empty spot right in front of the motor. Wow, okay. So let's come over here. And here is the front motor mount isolastic unit. And it is the old-fashioned style with shims. And we're going to replace it with the newfangled style with these guys. They take that place, take that place. These are the new, I think these are the ones in front, or maybe these are the ones that go in front.
Yeah.
I think these go in front. Okay. And that's going to be neat. Now, well, we're not going to press this out yet. We will. Oh, look at how out of round that is. That's just from sitting on the rubber for the last 50 some odd years. See how deformed it is? And that's how they wear out. Just the motor laying on the rubber. This is the downside, and you can see how it's squashed with the rubber down. So they don't just slide, do they? Now we're going to have to press them up. Okay, well, that was fun. Okay, at this point in time, the engine is being supported by the sky hook, It's right up against the frame and as far forward as we could push it. And here's the rear ISO mount, and it's clearance, that little clearance. See, we're completely supported here. At this point in time, we're going to try to pull this ISO out that side of the engine. This is a deviation from the photographs that I published yesterday because that bike didn't have the primary on it. For reasons unknown, I don't remember. That was 10 years ago, and I don't remember why the primary wasn't on it. So I assumed that this time the primary had to come off. Apparently it doesn't. So here we are. We got this visible, and we have the tool here, the yonder ISO puller tool, and we're going to try to pull that ISO out of the bike on towards Kevin on the right-hand side and see how it goes. We need to get enough clearance over these eyelets, around these eyelets, to pull it out and then push the new one in. So, getting set up. Here we're going to go. Okay, so remember the old I Love Lucy show when Ricky would come in and say, "Lucy, you got some splaining to do." Well, that's where I am. I got some splaining to do. I don't do enough of these. Maybe I've done 4 or 5 in the last 20 years, and every single time it's a learning experience. Oh, loud noise.
Loud noise.
It's a learning experience. At this point in time, we've got the frame supported by the skyhook. We have the engine supported by the jack. We've been able to move the engine up and forward enough to get clearance under these eyelets so that we can now use the extractor tool to pull that rear isolastic out. So that's what we're doing now. And it's different than the instructions in that set of photos I showed you yesterday. And sorry about that, but it just is. Every time, it's different every time. It's a learning experience, and every time is not fun. But let's see if we can draw this out of the tube. We're going to put a 3/4 inch wrench on this end to keep it from turning. And Kevin's going to use a
Be a 3/4 on this
3/4 on that side. And we're going to try to draw that. Actually, this is locked on. It's not going to turn. What you do is put the vice grips on this end here that I left, that I ground down to keep it from turning. Yeah, that'll hold it. There you go. Now, just go ahead and put this on.
Go ahead and put it on. I can't get it on. I can't get it on. Tell me what's wrong.
Is it turning in the right way?
But it's not going to make it past
That's
that.
not a gear wrench. Get a gear wrench. Make life easy.
Okay.
We're going to get a gear wrench over there. Here we go. That's, yep. Nope.
Oh, other way.
Yep.
Always got to
Right,
test
so we got a
it
gear wrench on there now.
2 or 3 times.
Okay, now hold it with that.
Thank you. Oh.
That's funny. And we're drawing. These are 2 pieces for a reason. I don't remember what the reason is, but they're 2 pieces for a reason. I think I originally made it long and then modified it. Probably has something to do with the putting the new one back in. Okay, you keep doing it. Hang on, I'm going to go over here and see the progress. And it's being pulled in there. Yeah, it is. Very clearly. Yeah, I got to figure. I'll get a splice. I'll get an ABS splice that'll fit those, and we can put it on and off. I'll do that the next time we do one of these, Kevin.
Yeah.
Early next, never.
That's right, yeah. I think my mom was going to be calling me that day.
Yeah, sorry, I have to wash my hair. I
Yeah,
can't
that's right,
can't
yeah.
do editing. And there goes one of our helicopters overhead. Definitely not flying at flight minimums. That's just not right. Anyway, I'm going to stop this. We'll pick up once we have it out. All right, well, let's get this out of the way. These are the old ISOs that came out of the rear. They come out in multi-pieces. And this is the new unit that goes in as one unit. This goes on the left because the adjuster is on the left. And I'll show you, can you see how collapsed that is just from the weight of the bike sitting on the rubber. They're pretty well out around. So it's interesting. The originals, these were the rubbers that supported the engine, and these were safety rubbers to make sure it doesn't go too far. They're smaller diameter. See, isn't that cool? And you get the same thing here. These support the engine, and these are the safety rubbers to keep it from bouncing too far. So we're getting ready to put this back in. We'll clean up all these nuts and bolts and start reassembling. All right, we've started the reinsertion reassembly of the rear ISO. Here's the new unit. This is the puller turned around to be used as a puller that direction. As I say, each time I do this, it's a learning curve. Couldn't get the big black plastic over there, so we're using a socket on this side because this has to stick out about an inch on that side. The adjuster goes on the right-hand side, and I've got it lubed. And when you turn it in, you have to sort of use a screwdriver to compress the rubber so that it'll slide in cleanly. Otherwise, it'll just hang up. I don't know if it would tear, but I always get it up against there and then use a screwdriver to go around the outer edge and get it to pop into the tube. It's a very tight fit. Okay, so that's where we are, getting ready to tighten this guy down like so and push that in. And there it goes. And this is really boring, so I'm going to stop right about here and finish putting this in. All right, so the rear ISO is now installed. Found out once we got the far end in here and pushed it in a little bit, then we just gave it a smack and it went straight across. Then I used the tool to push this side in, once again using a screwdriver to press the rubber down so that it would go down smoothly without hanging up on the edge. So I'm going to take the tool out now. We're going to center the ISO and put the end caps on. Okay, so how many people noticed that I put this whole isolastic rubber assembly into the rear ISO tube backwards, facing the wrong way? Show of hands. All the guys out there who saw that, show of hands. Okay, you back there in the left corner. Way to go. So I'm doing it again. I pulled it out and doing it again. I'm trying an experiment here. I've actually put this whole end together and locked it down and have the rubber on in the whole 9 yards. I'm going to try to draw this in all as a unit rather than putting it together once it's in. It's going to be an interesting experiment with a probability of failure, probably 75–80%, that it just isn't going to work. If it doesn't, then I'll take all this off and finish the draw and then put it back together. But I thought I'd give it a shot, see if I can put it in as a unit. Stand by for news. Well, that actually worked. Putting the whole assembly on this end, tightening it down, locking it with the set screw, putting the whole thing on at once, it pulled right in. We had to guide the outer silver faceplate on carefully, but then it pulled right in. So we're going to try the same
It's
situation
silver,
over there.
this, right?
Yeah, this goes on top of that, right?
Right,
That
correct. Yeah,
fiber.
just double check it. Yep.
All right. Okay, well, it's 11:15. All right. We have both sides of the rear ISO installed with rubbers and adjusted. We did the hold and the half adjustment over here, so theoretically it's adjusted. At this point in time, we think we have a opportunity to lift the engine up, line up these holes, put in the back bolt all the way through, and then we can put the new ISOs in the front and install it. So we're going to try lifting right now with the jack to lift the motor up as the skyhook holds the frame and see how it goes. All right, the good news is since we have the front isolastic assembly completely out, all we have to do is put it in the press the rubbers in carefully. So we're ready to go, and Kevin's going to slowly put it down, and I'm going to go over there and feed that rubber into there using a screwdriver. So I'm going to stop right now and go over there. Okay, stop for a moment. And we'll be right back. Okay, it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday. We did not get as much accomplished today as we thought we would. We got the rear ISO in just fine. It's beautiful, it's adjusted, it's wonderful. All we have to do is put the back end of the bike together, which we will do tomorrow because we can still work on the bike, even though we do not have the front ISO installed. We ran into a philosophical question there. There's a huge controversy, as they would say in England, about whether or not the stock Mark II front motor mount needs to be shortened on this side in order to accept the Andover Norton Mark III Isolastics. Let's put it this way, with it unmodified as it is, we spent about 3 hours trying to mount this and it won't go. Now, might be our fault, no doubt about it, but I have dropped a line to Andover asking for their input because they have a video online that clearly states this unit will accept this part number isolastic without modification to this front isolastic mount. I don't believe the video. I also went online and found a dozen different bulletin boards and companies who all say that this needs to be modified either to the same length. Let me see if I can get this off. Okay. This needs to be shortened to the same length as the other side, or at least cut it down by 25, a quarter of an inch. Okay? Which would make it the same length as that side. So I've got my machinist on call. He's going to come by and take a look at this. We're going to discuss it. And I believe I'm going to go ahead and have this side shortened a quarter of an inch, and that will allow us to put this Mark II front motor mount back on the bike with the Mark III adjustable internals. In the meantime, tomorrow we will go back to putting the bike together because we can work on the bike. You know, from this point back, we can go ahead and reassemble the bike while waiting for that front motor mount problem to be resolved. I'll let you know what I find.